Welcome to Friday Friends, RI Elder Info's weekly look at the organizations and individuals providing resources for Rhode Island seniors, caregivers, and professionals.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It's a little after 9 today, and thank you for your patience for waiting. I am speaking with Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos today about a really important topic that I had kind of had a brief conversation with someone, out in my real life about. And I happened to be attending a conference and I heard Lieutenant Governor speak about the very same issue. And I said, oh my goodness, I need to have her on Friday Friends because I didn't realize how much of an issue succession planning for business owners is really becoming. So I'm really excited that she has time to be able to speak with us today about this, because I think that this is something that we're not often looking at, and it's really important. Now, as you all know, RI Elder Info is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we could not do our work without the support of our sponsors and our donors. So thank you to all of our individual sponsors and donors, and thank you to United Healthcare, as well as Brightside Behavioral Health, Age Friendly Rhode Island College, Social Enterprise Greenhouse, and 321 Media. We could not do this work without your support. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos.
Hi, good morning, Deb. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about succession planning for our small business community.
Yeah, it was funny because I was talking to a friend of mine, and what he does is when manufacturing companies are closing, he goes in and purchases the equipment. And so it got me asking, why are these companies closing? And a lot of times it seems it's because the owners of the companies are aging. And then I went to an event and you were talking about this.
Yeah.
I love your idea. Can you please share with everybody what your idea is?
Yes, so I was at a conference, a lieutenant governor, in which they introduced me to the term the silver tsunami. And here's how comes the connection to our aging population. So they refer to the silver tsunami to the numbers of individuals that are planning on retirement within the next 5, 10, and 15 years. So a lot of the baby boomers are thinking about retirement. Is one of the reasons people believe is that COVID kind of make people rethink how they want to spend their time, and they decide to retire even sooner than what they planning on. And they talk about employee ownership and how this is a way in which we can address a big challenge that we're going to be facing with so many business closing. I learned about how in this nation, not just in the state, but in the nation, there's going to be such a huge transfer of wealth happening in a way that we have not seen in generations, right? So we're going to see the transfer of wealth happening mainly from the baby boomers into millennials. But what happens is in many instances, their kids don't want to continue on the same line of business that the parents were. Or, as some of the data have shown, the parents don't want their kids to do it. They feel like, oh, we've worked so hard. Oh, let's say a family started manufacturing, and then the kids decide, no, I'm going to go become an accountant, or I'm going to become a doctor, and they not interested in keeping the business. So what's going to happen is that those companies that don't have a family member that's going to take the business over, if they don't have a succession plan in place, they may end up just closing the doors, because the data shows that every time someone is trying to sell a company and is waiting until the last minute, they don't find a buyer. So they end up just shutting down. So we lose the company that in many instances are part of the fabric of our communities, but also we lose the jobs we have individuals that have been loyal to this company for years that get left with nothing and have to start all over. So what we're trying to do is to encourage more companies to sell to their employees if they don't have a successor. And if you have a successor, this is not for you. But if you don't have a plan, we want to help you sell the company to your employees. And
How does
yeah.
one sell their business to their employees? Like, I'm trying to think, like, how does the group of employees, like, I don't know, get a mortgage to
Yeah.
buy
Yeah.
the company? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, no, great questions. And here in the state of Rhode Island, actually, we have some great examples of employee-owned companies. Actually, I was very proud because when I was in this conference out of state, they highlight the Newport Restaurant Group, one of the best examples in the nation of employee ownership, right? So
Go
we
Rhode
could have
Island.
go Rhode Island, right? Those are the moments you feel proud when you're away. So I was very proud to hear that. So Newport Restaurant Group is a really good example of employee-owned. And we also have like this a company, a tree services, Stanley Tree Services is also employee-owned, and we have many others. So what we found is that nationally, there are financial institutions that are looking for opportunities to lend to employee-owned company. So what
So
we look, yeah, go ahead.
how do businesses find that? Is there help in the state for a business owner and their employees to find those lenders?
And that's why we're trying to create the center here in the state of Rhode Island, because right now there's not a centralized place where people can go and get information. So there are right now 23 to probably 25 right now to other state that have a center of employee ownership, and there's different versions of how they work. We have been looking at the model that Colorado has, and we have been reaching out to the different states, and we have been asking them, what did you like? What would you change if you could start all over again? So we're learning from the different other states, and we are creating a center here in Rhode Island. I asked the General Assembly to to introduce the law to create the center. And we're going to have a centralized place. Right now, we're asking for one full-time individual. This is someone that needs to have the knowledge and also understand the confidentiality that comes from doing this work. Because when a business owner decides that they're going to retire, they don't want to just put that out there.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a very confidential conversation that the business owner can have with the center. The center is going to connect the business owner, or it could be the employees that can approach the center also. So the center is going to connect them with the accountants that knows how to set up those type of businesses, with the lawyers that understand these structures, with the financial institutions that are willing to lend to employee-owned. And it's very important to remember also, the center is not going to dictate what type of ownership, because as an employee-owned, you could have a coffee. We have it could be a co-op. In the coffee shop, Y Electric is a good example of a business that was purchased by the employees as a co-op. But we also have what are called ESOP, which are the employees' stock option, in which it's a corporation in which the employees are the owners of the shares of the company, right? And we have found that mid-size and larger company prefers to use that style. Manufacturers love to use the ESOP model. But there's another model in which it's just a trust. The business is sold or is put on a trust in which the owner is selling the business slowly to the employee. This one gives the opportunity to the owners that have that attachment to the business, give them time to walk away slowly from the company. And after they work so hard to build a company, it's hard to say, okay, I'm done, you know? So this could be a way in which they can do it also. And the center is not going to dictate. We're just going to provide the information and let them decide what makes the most sense for them.
Wow. So I know that you oversee the Small Business Council for the state.
Mm-hmm.
You also oversee the Long-Term Care Coordinating Council. And I really see the intersection of this. I had someone come to do some work on my house, and the gentleman was in his, I'm going to guess, probably late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But he let me know ahead of time that the boss, his dad, was going to come check on him, the boy, to make sure he did the work right. And his dad was in his high 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, that's really cool. So someday you're going to inherit the business. And the gentleman said, no, actually, my dad never made any plans for passing the business down officially. And my mom got dementia. And so there will be some consequences in relation to the estate and covering the cost of
Yes.
care. And so that planning wasn't done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that in terms of the business owners that, they want to retire, but they don't want their company to go away because that's their heart. But there could be other benefits to allowing their employees to continue their legacy and also plan for their own family in this. So
Yeah.
like the whole succession planning is part of an even bigger picture. Now, for the employees, is there something that is supposed to be like related to sorry about that.
Sorry,
I was walking earlier.
Yeah.
And I've walked a lot, even as I sat here. But is there something for the employees? Like, do they have to work there a certain amount of time, or is that something that is determined as they structure the planning?
This is determined as they structure the planning, honestly. They can have, there are some employee-owned company that says after 6 months, you're vested or you're part of the ownership, or it could be a year. So this gets determined as they're setting up the corporation, the structure that they decide. They'll determine what is the length of time that's going to require for them to become owners. There are some models in which employees can come in and kind of buy part of the stock to come in. There's different models, but this is why it's so important that we need to have a center that provide the information. I do want to touch base back on the story that you just shared with us, because that's so important. And this is the connection between our aging population in the business community. We sometimes are not thinking about this, that the resources that we have can be taken away if we end up going into a long-term care facility. That if you are an individual that has resources, you're not going to qualify for the Medicaid, Medicare to cover some of the expenses until you have used all the resources that you have. If you are a couple, right, and one of you end up in a long-term care facility and you own a house, if you have not done the estate planning to address this, one of you may end up homeless because your house may be taken as a part of the assets that are going to be used to pay for the long-term care facility. So all of us should be thinking about succession planning from a business perspective, but also if you own any asset, if you own your home, you should be thinking about estate planning to ensure that you're protecting yourself and your loved one.
Absolutely. And for so many business owners, I think I saw some data that said about half of the businesses in Rhode Island are considered small businesses, meaning they employ less than 50 people. And your business often feels like another part of your family.
Yeah.
And so with this idea of succession planning, it's a way of protecting those employees that have been dedicated to you and your company for so
Yes,
many years.
that's right.
Without, you might have an employee who themselves are in their 40s, 50s, 60s,
Mhm.
sometimes even more. And the thought as a business owner to say, well, I have to close down for myself.
Yeah.
And now you know that they're really going to have a hard time finding a job. This is an
Yeah.
opportunity for you to say, hey, you know what? I'm not giving you the business, but there's an opportunity for you to have the business. So I think it's
Yeah.
a great opportunity.
And the center, what we want to create the center to ensure that the business owner that created that business get paid a fair uh, amount for
Yep.
the work that he put and for all the effort him or her and their family put into building this business. We want them to be compensated fairly, but we want also to protect the workers because the data shows that an employee on makes on average 33% more than just being an employee. But the part that I'm the most excited about is that we're helping individuals that never had the opportunity to start their own business because maybe they never had the resources to take part on being of what I call on capitalism, right? Make capitalism work for more people, right? So this is how we can ensure that it works for more people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like this would be something attractive for businesses to come to Rhode Island and set up stakes here in Rhode Island as a new business, that we're already thinking about the business growing and operating with such longevity in our state that the owner would actually be retiring from their company and thinking about this ahead of time. So I like the fact that it's something that could be from the beginning of the company through the owner's life and then passed on. I love this.
Yes.
It's happening so often.
It happens more and more, and we want to have the center here. And part of so there's two legislation in as we create the center. One is creating the center. We're asking for one FTE, one full-time person, to be in charge because of the confidentiality that comes with this work. The other bill is asking for tax incentive to go to this tax incentive goes to the businesses that decide to go into this process. That's going to help them offset some of the costs of hiring the lawyers, the accountants, and everything else. So, and we're asking for this fund to be created. So it's going to incentivize the business to look into this as an option also.
Very good. And I see that we had a question come in. Is there a minimum time for the business to have been in operation for these programs to look to selling to their employees?
No, actually, there's no minimum time. And there are people that may want to start a company and from the get-go started as an employee on, right? You may want to start a company as a co-op, or you may want to start as an ESOP right from the beginning. So there's not a limit of time. As we mentioned earlier, what the difference would be if a company decides to go through the process and become an employee on, they may decide that in the future, any future employees have to work with us for a set amount of time before they become owners. But this is something that can be determined of the business is being set up.
That's why you have the attorneys and the accountants.
That's right.
This is an awesome, awesome concept. I'm really glad that I was in the conference where you were speaking about it, because it's not something that I think we talk about enough, especially when it comes to our businesses and the fact that each one of us every day is getting a little bit older.
That's right. And, it's important for us to have that conversation right now and to establish the center right now, because this required times to set up. Businesses that decide that they're going to retire and go through this process may require a couple of years before it's all set up. So we cannot wait until the last minute. This is normally people criticize the government that we don't plan for the long term. This is about planning for the long term, right? We have to plan ahead. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think when it comes to us aging, a lot of those conversations, we don't plan ahead enough. So this is one that there'll actually be a place that you can go to get that help. So right. This is wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come on today. This has been wonderful.
No, my pleasure. I'm so glad we're having this conversation because we have to remind everyone to start doing their state planning and also for the businesses to have a succession plan in place. So thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. Everybody, if you have any questions about this succession planning for your business, please reach out to the Lieutenant Governor's office. This is an amazing idea. Too often I talk to folks who, had their businesses for their entire lives and had never planned, what's going to happen to the employees if I want to retire, what will happen to the employees if I get sick or have a catastrophic medical event that sometimes comes with aging. So I think that this is a great opportunity to keep our businesses going and keep people employed here in our state. And so that you can see the fruits of your labor continue on even after you retire. So I think it's an amazing idea that I had not thought of before. So I was really grateful that the Lieutenant Governor was able to come on today and share this information. So I hope that you reach out if you have any questions and that it has prompted some conversations among business owners as to what you plan to do. Everybody, I am so glad that you joined me today. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. In the meantime, be well and be kind.